In over 30 years of restaurant technology, I watched operators spend millions of dollars on technology that ultimately didn't solve the problem they were trying to solve and oftentimes didn't even get used. Almost every time it came down to the same five mistakes that I will go through in this episode. We'll talk about how operators jumped to conclusions, didn't resource things appropriately, didn't get buy in, chose the nice, shiny tech, and lots of different ways that I've seen restaurant technology fail within our industry. I've spent over 30 years in restaurant tech, and I've had thousands of conversations with both operators, different vendors, and I'm the host of the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast with over 300 episodes now streaming on your favorite streaming players. Welcome back to the show. And let's talk a little bit about the number one thing that I see restaurant operators fail at when it comes to adopting technology. They don't get buy in from the people that are actually going to be using the solution. They struggle to understand that they're the ones ultimately that are going to use the solution. They aren't checking with them to understand what the problems are, what the issues that they're trying to solve are, the fact that they have other things that they may be doing that are part of their daily process. And so oftentimes you'll get an owner or a corporate office that comes in and decides they understand what the problem is. They have looked at it on the whiteboard, they've seen it in a demo, and they've decided, hey, this is the thing that's going to make everything better. I actually had an experience where an owner bought a solution from us and didn't have operator buy-in, and on a Friday night their entire operational team walked out and ultimately left the restaurant paralyzed because they didn't have buy-in from the bartenders, the servers. It wasn't that the solution was bad, it was the fact that their operators and the people that needed to use it to be able to make their living and that were ultimately helping the owner get to where they wanted to get to could not use the system the way that they needed to. They didn't get the buy-in, and ultimately you get a lot of passive aggressive. You're trying to understand, there's a lot of friction. They don't understand what the vision is, they don't understand where they're going. And so unfortunately, that's number one. Make sure that you get buy-in from the operators that are on the floor, managers, servers, bartenders. Make sure that it can fulfill their business needs. Understand, and you might remember a previous episode where we talked about the selection process when you go through buying new tech, understanding what it needs to do prior to doing that, and then having a scorecard to ensure that the solution does it is a huge piece. Mistake number two is honestly just chasing tech for tech's sake. You'll hear me say this on the show often that tech for tech's sake is worthless, but technology that's truly solving business challenges is what we need. And so operators will oftentimes they'll go experience a piece of technology at a brand, they'll be a consumer and go, I really need this. Ultimately, not understanding that one, they may not be in the right place to be able to adopt that change. Two, it might not really be solving a problem that their operators or their customers are having. The data and the existing systems that they have don't work properly together, and so they end up failing because they chased technology for tech's sake. Go again, they'll see it at a trade show, they'll go see it at an existing client site, they'll go continue to go chase this new tech without truly understanding what is the business benefit, what is it that they're trying to accomplish, how is it that they are going to continue to operate after this technology is coming in. And ultimately it fails because it doesn't solve the problem for the consumer, it doesn't solve the problem for their user, the employee that's in the store. And again, there's new technology that comes out every single day. We have lots of those operators and founders on the podcast. But at the end of the day, understanding truly what is the problem and whether this solves it, and then whether you're really prepared to be able to do that is huge. Another example that I've had as it relates to this is somebody that decided to go implement AI voice ordering, all the rage currently, but ultimately they got like 2% adoption. Their digital orders were less than 10% of their total sales. And then they tried to increase them by getting a voice AI in their phone orders. And ultimately, the only reason people were calling that brand is because they wanted something they couldn't get digitally on their app. So if they had a digital native customer, they were using the digital tool, the online ordering, or the mobile app, and they were really looking to accelerate that by giving people voice ordering. But at the end of the day, the consumers didn't adopt it, and it was a costly mistake that they spent a whole bunch of time and money on to solve a problem that was really only a technology problem and not necessarily something that the staff or the guests were looking for. The third issue that we talk about all the time is integrations, 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 integrations. Again, on the whiteboard, everything looks like it integrates, but not all integrations are created equal. We've got an episode on the channel here where we talk about not all integrations being equal. And unfortunately, the technologists often will say, "Oh, it's super open and super easy." I find that we'll get technologists that'll come in from Silicon Valley where there's some open standards and stuff, and people will really struggle to understand that it doesn't just work. You've got to make sure that things are knitted together in a proper way, that the way you have your database configured is also the way that your consumers need to be able to use it, is also the way that your POS needs to use it, is also the way that DoorDash or other third parties may need to use it. And so ensuring that the integration is truly bi-directional in the way that you need it. I would encourage you to go check out the show on Not All Integrations Are Created Equal, because oftentimes you'll look at it. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a person that I was talking to at a trade show that had implemented a POS. Then they implemented a loyalty package, and the loyalty package would prompt the user at the POS for what loyalty rewards they may have. Well, then they implemented kiosks, and unfortunately at the kiosk, it was showing all of the rewards, even if they weren't relevant to that basket and to what they were ordering. And so it only confused the guests. And so they delayed their kiosk rollout because the integration wasn't as tight as it needed to be. Again, in the case of an operator-focused POS, easy to look at. They're trained, they understand, they're working through those things. So that part is super simple. But at the end of the day, you've got to ensure that the integration does what you need it to do. It is one of the largest things that I see technology projects fail and ultimately not get the results that they're looking for. Mistake number 4 is all about your staff and giving them the time and training to ensure that they are able to use it. Again, restaurants are very fast paced, lots of high turnover. Ensuring that they know what they're doing so that the guest experience doesn't suffer is huge. We oftentimes encourage people to install the POS prior to going live, put it into an environment for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and having a checklist to make sure that the staff members not only have gone through training, but also that they can ring up their top 20 transactions, 30 transactions, take an entire stack of all of their transactions for the week and ensure that all of those things are able to be rung up on the point of sale. Huge, huge, huge piece of ensuring that you understand that. It's never the core, what we like to call happy path things that break down on the first day of a new technology project. It is when things get hard and you need a check split 6 ways, but you need to split the bottle of wine only 5 ways because only 5 of the people had that wine on the check. And then they want to pay one of those 5 checks with a gift card for a portion of it and then cash for the balance. And all of these very complex scenarios, but they want to attach loyalty to guest number 2. Huge, huge, huge pieces that we oftentimes run into when it comes to training and ensuring that we are in the right place to be able to do these things. I would tell you, before you implement any piece of technology, make sure that you invest in the training and that you ensure that your staff is up to speed. You'll get these things often. And again, everybody's been lulled into this false sense of security with our iPhones and our iPads that it's super simple, no problems, no issues. But at the end of the day, it is a big, big, big piece that I see people continue to struggle with. The last thing is truly understanding what the roadmap is for all of their technology. What does their tech stack look like? A good friend of mine, Sean Walchef, who also has a show on YouTube and a podcast and a lot of different pieces of media out there, he talks about it all the time. What is your technology stack? What pieces are fitting together? What is it that you are looking to do for both the guest and your staff and really the owners at the end of the day? Because if you don't think about that in a holistic frame, you're going to struggle. So ensuring that the tech talks well to each other, that the operators are bought into the solution, that they've been trained, that they understand what we're trying to get accomplished, that they have a goal and a objective behind this, all are huge pieces to ensure that you can adopt technology and it's going to deliver the benefit that you're looking for. Most operators ignore these 5 points. There are more that we see, but these are the five most common things. And so I would encourage you to think about these things, to write them down, to ensure that you stay tuned to the channel to continue to learn all of the different things that we continue to teach, all of the different pieces of technology that we continue to explore, to make sure that you can run your restaurant the best way possible and be on the bleeding edge, or the leading edge at least, of these things. But ensure that you're not just investing in technology that's going to fail, but that you're investing in technology that is ultimately going to make a difference for your guests as well as for your operators. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the show and check out the next episode here on your top right before you go.